Hello and welcome back to Matt Hayes' Tottenham Blog and to a very special Tottenham transfer roundup, not only because Richarlison has completed his move to Spurs, but because we are joined by Spurs YouTube royalty in the shape of the Irish Hotspur, David Harris. Thank you so much for joining me this evening, David. How are you getting on?
No, absolutely buzzing. Thank you very much for having me, Matty. I mean, look, to be invited on with you to talk transfers, it's an absolute honour, my man. Thank you.
No, my absolute pleasure having you on. Look, like you said there, Tottenham have completed the signing of Richarlison. We're going to go in depth on that. I know it's probably all you've been listening to for the last week or so. We will also touch on Clement Lenglet, the latest developments on that one. As Fabrizio Romano says, here we go soon. So just teasing us a little bit with that. We'll also look at some potential setbacks on the Jed Spence deal today. It's one that is up in the air and will continue to be so. Before we do get into that, welcome everybody to the chat. We've got Aaron and Zoe, channel members in here, and a lot of regulars as well. Thanks everyone for tuning in. But let's not delay it any longer and let's talk about the new Spurs man, and it is Richarlison, who has joined Tottenham for a deal worth up to £60 million, signing a 5-year contract coming in from Everton, and what is a huge statement signing for Tottenham. Fabrizio Romano told us that he completed his medical in Brazil yesterday under the watchful eye of the Spurs medical team. He then signed that contract in the late hours of last night, early hours of this morning, and Tottenham announced it with a very impressive picture of a pigeon on the cockerel on the top of the stadium. You have to ask how long they were standing there waiting for that one to happen. But look, David, it's a huge signing for Tottenham, and one that was really important, I think, to get over the line very early.
Yeah, Matty, look, I think it's a statement of intent. Look, if we're being honest with ourselves, it's probably been our longest outstanding issue, that we've neglected for a number of years now. It's probably one that has been long overdue. And to get in someone like a Richarlison, I mean, Matty, he's much closer to the levels of someone like Harry Kane than what Llorente, Vinicius, or Vincent Janssen ever were. He's much closer to that level. Look, with Harry Kane, he needs competition. I think last season you probably seen with Nuno and stuff like that, especially at the start, there was probably a bit of complacency there. But now having someone chasing him, you'll probably see Harry Kane at a complete new level this season. In terms of Richarlison, look, Matt, he's a Premier League proven goal scorer. He's coming in here, he's hitting the ground running. There's no adaptation period whatsoever for this guy coming in. He's already up to speed with the physicality and the demands of the Premier League. So that's a huge plus. He's guaranteed to score double digits more or less every single season as well, which again is another huge plus, because when you look at the bench, and if Harry Kane's tiring or it's just not working out, you want to look at that bench and say, okay, there's a guy there that can score goals. When you looked at the bench when Vinicius was there, you were hesitant. You're like, well, what's the point? What's the guy going to do? Same with Vincent Janssen. Same with Llorente, kind of to a certain respect. I know he was a bit better than the previous two. But with Richarlison, you know that there's a player in there. He also gives you a different option in terms, Matty, we've brought in Perisic. I know Jed Spence is a bit on the rocks, but we probably will be bringing in a right wing back here. So you'll have a lot more quality out wide. And we all know in the Conte system, it relies on the quality out wide. And they'll be able to get down wide and put the ball in the box. And one thing I really like about Richarlison, he's very, very good at attacking that ball when it gets into the box. So he gives us a different outlet completely up front. But also, not only that, Matty, he's 6 foot plus. He's aggressive. He's strong. He's good in the air. He can hold up the ball. He can run in behind. He's capable of that explosive moment where he can beat a player, put one into the top bins. He likes to play on the edge. He's aggressive. And I absolutely love that. If you look at some of our signings, they've been big, strong, aggressive players. Romero, Kulusevski, big, strong boy. Bentancur, Basuma, Perisic, he's well able to handle himself. You look at even the goalkeeper we signed, 6'7". He could have been in the NBA draft this year, Matty. He's that big. So you look at the way we're going in terms of bringing in big, strong, athletic, aggressive players. We're clearly going out there next year to try and dominate teams, steamroll them, and Richarlison fits that mold. And I think when you look at someone like him, Matty, he can hold the line. He can play up front on his own. Someone like Jesus that went to Arsenal cannot do it. That's why Pep Guardiola played him out on the right-hand side. He went to go without a striker. And everyone was saying, oh, look at Pep, new way of playing. He doesn't play with strikers. No, he didn't want to play like that because he only played like that because we didn't give him Harry Kane. They couldn't get Haaland. Now they got Haaland this season. He's been shipped out. And I think if you look at the two deals, and I know a lot of Spurs fans may be unhappy we didn't get Jesus, but I actually think when you look at someone of what we need and someone that can actually lead a line and is proven that can actually lead that line, we've got the better deal.
We have. I couldn't agree more. I mean, I kind of spoke earlier in June when we were being linked to Gabriel Jesus. There's no doubt there was interest there from Tottenham. How far that interest went, if it led to a bid, I don't think it did get that far. But with Jesus and with Rafinha as well, there was definitely interest from Tottenham. And I said from minute one on Gabriel Jesus that would be a good move for Spurs, but it wouldn't be as good a move for Arsenal. And yes, I know that stinks of ridiculous bias, but Tottenham need a rotation option up front. We need a player who can score 10, maybe assist 10 throughout the season, come off the bench and maybe impact a game in certain situations. That's the player that Jesus, I think, is. Arsenal need a 20-25 goal a season striker, and I don't think Jesus is going to be that for them. So I think both were good options for us, but we've got in a player who in the last couple of years in the Premier League has just been better, and there's a few stats that back that up. Opta Joe said today, by the way, I'm writing an article next week for Opta on Richarlison, so there'll be a lot of stats, a lot of facts in there that'll tell you exactly why he's such a good signing. But Opta Joe said that since his Premier League debut for Everton in August 2018, Richarlison has scored 43 league goals. The only Brazilian with more in Europe's big five leagues in this time is Neymar. So in this time, Richarlison has scored 43. Gabriel Jesus only has 38. Rafinha isn't even in the top five. And you can say, look, fair enough, he may have scored goals. Everton have had some horrific results recently. He might have scored one in a 5-1 defeat to Manchester City or two in a 4-2 defeat to Liverpool. But Richarlison, since 2016, has the highest percentage of game state changing goals. So, making it from losing to drawing or drawing to winning. He's 82% of his goals have come changing the state of the game. And if you look at how, in terms of the result, he has, I think, 12 result-changing goals in the last couple of years, which is the joint highest in the Premier League, along with Harry Kane and I think Mohamed Salah. So not only does he score goals, he scores very, very important goals. And that just doesn't seem to be something that you can say about Jesus or Rafinha. And when Richarlison, again, I'm very reluctant to use the phrase backup or sub striker. There is going to be a lot of rotation in there. You'd have to assume that he's not top of the pecking order at the moment, so he is at the beginning going to have to affect games off the bench, and that is something that he is just really, really good at. We got a member chat here from Brian Daigle, absolute legend and a pillar of the Spurs community. Brian, thanks for tuning in. Has been a member for 14 months. Brian, wow. I owe you a point. Says, the summer we all dreamed of continues. Antonio Conte single-handedly is going to turn our dreams into reality. Big up, everyone. Love you all. Come on, you Spurs. Well, Brian, I can speak for all 460 people watching and the two of us on the panel that we absolutely adore you too. But yeah. David, it's such an important point there with Antonio Conte being able to attract a player like Richarlison, because again, that game time isn't going to be guaranteed for him. But how important do you think Antonio Conte was in getting this deal over the line?
Matty, he's absolutely crucial. Even the likes of Perisic, getting Kulusevski, Bentancur here in the January transfer window. With Conte, and it's the same with Harry Kane, Matty. It's the whole reason why Harry Kane is going to stay now compared to where he was when he was at under Nuno, is because when you look at Conte and you look at his history, Matty, he will win you titles. And he doesn't necessarily have to get the best players across the world to be able to do it either, like a Guardiola. You look at some of the signings he made at Inter Milan, Ashley Young, Victor Moses, and there's more. None of them absolute world beaters, but he went on to win titles with them. And the reason why Conte is able to do that, Matty, is because he'll only have players that want to do what he wants them to do. After that, he's not walking around massaging egos, begging them to get out there and play. They're begging to play for him. He's a good man manager. It's the strict fitness regime he brings in. And it works. You look at Romelu Lukaku at Inter and Romelu Lukaku at Chelsea. Two complete different sizes, two complete different players. And with Conte, people come here knowing that they can win trophies, or there's that potential to be able to do it. You also look at our squad, Kane, Son, players like that. Why wouldn't you want to come in and play with them? Conte is an absolute massive draw. Look, we would not be getting these players under someone like Nuno, even with Paratici still as director of football. But because of Conte's history, he can demand the players to do what he wants them to do, and they will follow him, because they know it will lead to titles. Even if you look at what he's done with this Tottenham squad, Matty, he brought us from nowhere to top four. Nobody expected it, bar me, to be honest. But nobody expected it. He's an absolute unbelievable manager, but people will come because there's guaranteed trophies. But I just want to go back to Richarlison and Jesus for one more minute, Matty, as well. Is you look at the money we're spending and they're spending. With Richarlison, we're getting a player that can also create his own goals. Jesus can't do that. Jesus needs the players around him to feed him, to get him the goals, whereas Richarlison doesn't. Richarlison can make his own goals. And I think that's the difference. And I think that's why we went for someone like Richarlison, then Jesus, because we can't have a striker in our team where you're relying on everybody else to feed you. Sometimes you just have to grab a grain by the scruff of the neck, beat two players and put one in the top corner and walk around going shh to people. Sometimes you just have to do that. And Richarlison is capable of that. Jesus is not.
Yeah, I completely agree. And even what you mentioned a few minutes ago in terms of Richarlison's physical stature and how kind of strong he is, that's something that I definitely didn't value in his game. Until I saw a compilation recently of all the goals he scored for Everton, and so many of them are in the air, winning headers against big centre backs, getting on the end of free kicks or corners being crossed into the box. And again, that's not something you would think or expect of Gabriel Jesus. It's again, there was interest there from Tottenham, but I don't for a second think that we resorted to Richarlison or that we were beaten to Gabriel Jesus. I think if we hadn't got Richarlison, Jesus would have been a very good option for us, and again, I would have been very happy with that. But Tottenham, from what we can see and from what we're hearing, went for their number one option, got the deal done quickly. And any people who might say it's this early in the window, it doesn't matter how quickly we got it done. If we hadn't done that, if there wasn't a doctor on the plane to Brazil the other night without Richarlison's permission, when Chelsea came in to try and hijack that deal, they could very well have hijacked that deal. It's how quickly Tottenham moved that we've been able to get that first choice, and it is crucial for Tottenham that we managed to get that over the line, because not only do we want to back the manager at what he wants, but it sets a precedent that if we want this player, we will go out and get this player. And I've seen a few Everton fans, and to be honest, I understand where they're coming from, saying they can see why Richarlison wanted to leave, but they can't see why he'd want to join Tottenham. I can see where they're coming from, but there's a reason. There's a reason, and it's Champions League football for starters, but because I can imagine how well Fabio Paratici and Antonio Conte are selling this club and selling this project. And it's not like in the past when Daniel Levy has been talking to us in the end of season chairman message in the match program, where he's promising this investment and promising ambition and passion and that we're going to see the DNA. It's not like that when it's from Conte and Paratici. It's honest, raw, just truth, information that is showing the direction of this football club. And that's why Richarlison picked Tottenham. That's why Perisic picked Tottenham. That's why Bissouma picked Tottenham. And that is why 3 or 4 more players in this transfer window are going to pick Tottenham as well. We got Chris Offord joining the Championship member club. Thank you very much, Chris, for that. I really do appreciate it. Anyone else, if you do want to become a channel member, you can hit that join button down below. Or if you just want to subscribe, please do hit that button as well. And the like button while you're down there. We're only on 114 likes and we got 560 watching. So please do hit that subscribe button down below. David, a bit of concern, maybe a qualm that some Tottenham fans had with this signing is Richarlison's attitude and his mindset. I love it personally. Something that I think maybe shows that it's not as bad as some people might expect. He put up a goodbye message to the Everton fans on social media today, and he said, it's very difficult to say goodbye to a place that has become my home, fans who welcomed me as if I were one of them, and a club that treated me kindly and helped me develop my sense of community and empathy. All the love I have is not enough to thank you. Love you. Very, very kind words from Richarlison. Look, we know how much Everton did for him. He's been there for 4 years. We also know how much he did for them. But in terms of that mindset, in terms of that kind of nasty streak within Richarlison, are you the same as me, that you see that as a good thing?
A good thing. Like, Matty, even with Romero, when Romero came in, people were saying, oh, he's a bit rash. You're going to have to take that out of him. You can't. That he needs that to be able to play the way he does. Some people just thrive off being off the edge. Now, I did also read a stat, actually, Matty, or I think I came across a stat somewhere, or was it? I think someone said it to me either, that I think 20% of Romero's cards over the last season, I think, across club and country have been because of Richarlison. So maybe we signed him just so we can take some of them Romero's card count down a little bit. But look, when it comes to Richarlison, right, Matty, I think a lot of people look at his shithousery. He can be angry on the football pitch, and I think it gets misconstrued in terms into a bad attitude. A bad attitude is someone like Dele Alli, someone like an Ndombele, someone like a Lo Celso. Players that have been here, Serge Aurier, players that have been here who have just had absolute crap attitudes on the pitch and off the pitch. And if you look at the work that Paratici has done to get rid of them, as well with Bergwijn, look, that deal to Ajax is already lined up. That will happen, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but they are getting rid of players with bad attitudes. Do you really think that they haven't done their homework on Richarlison and that they're trying to get rid of bad attitudes, but they're going to bring in another one? It's not going to happen. But I did come across a very good tweet from an Everton page about Richarlison. And it said, Richarlison, the moment you signed for Everton, you won many hearts. Your actions on and off the pitch were truly remarkable. You came out in support of coronavirus victims to donate food baskets in Brazil. Not only that, Richarlison invited a young supporter who was being bullied at school to join him for a game of football at Everton's Finch Farm training ground. Then Richarlison won Everton PFA Community Champion as well. And he said, I am very proud to receive this recognition. Richarlison scored a big opener against Liverpool at Anfield, and his goal, after his goal, we went on to win that game 2-0. After having to work with multiple managers, Richarlison has always shown that he's by far our best player. And that just kind of goes to show that what Everton fans really think of him. But as well, another one is former goalkeeper Aurelio Gomez when they were at Watford together. He spoke absolute lyricals about Richarlison. Absolutely loved him. Look, this kid plays on the edge on the field, but let's not get it confused. Off the field, he is a good guy with a big heart, and he will train his heart out every day. But because he's angry on the field, it doesn't mean he's a bad person or he has a stinking attitude. It does not seem to be the case with Richarlison. I never heard any stories come out of Watford. I never heard any stories come out of Everton about him having an attitude problem. And if he did, he wouldn't have gone from Watford to Everton and Everton to Tottenham. That wouldn't have happened if he had that attitude problem. So I think we're getting a solid human being who just likes to be aggressive and angry on the pitch. It makes him, it helps him dominate other players. And I don't see that as a bad thing. I would not want to take it away from his game whatsoever.
100%. And I think I said it on your stream last night, the nasty streak is a good thing in some players, and when you take it away from them, like we did with Dele Alli, things maybe go a bit awry at that point. And look, like you say, Richarlison off the pitch is a brilliant person, but on the pitch he does add that bite that I think we need, and definitely that we're lacking in our front line. We have it at the back, we have it in midfield, we maybe just don't have it as much up top, and he's coming in to add that. And again, like I keep on saying, Jose Mourinho in that documentary, you could hear him saying to the players, you're a bunch of good guys, but the good guys don't always win. And since then, we've brought in Antonio Conte, we've brought in Christian Romero, we brought in Rodrigo Bentancur, who you can argue has that to some extent, and now Richarlison, who fits that as well. So you can see what Conte is doing. You can see the type of team he's trying to build. And again, go ahead.
I just want to add to that, Matty, as well, is like most of my time supporting Tottenham, bar maybe the Pochettino kind of era, and bar maybe when we had Palacios in at that time, we've also always had that soft tag label to us that we're easy to play against. We're very soft. We're too nice. In fact, you even seen it under Pochettino at the Battle of the Bridge. It's probably the nastiest we've ever got. But we still didn't come out the right side of that game the way we needed to. Mm-hmm. And if we just had nastier, meaner players, a lot of times that can sway games. Sometimes you can even win games before you go into them, because it means teams just they're already, some of them can go into the game, all right, I'm not really up for this today. It's going to be physical. It's going to be nasty. That's why you've seen teams like Burnley pick up points throughout the campaigns and most times stay up, because they're able to do that. Some teams just don't fancy it on days, and that's why they can always pull a big rabbit out of the bag or a rabbit out of the hat and take a big scalp at times. And what we're doing is we're bringing in them sort of guys, but we're also bringing them in with quality, technical quality. And I have no problem with us being a mean, nasty, lean winning machine, because that's what we need at Tottenham. Nice guys do not win anything. Nice guys finish last. Nasty guys who are willing to go that extra mile, in fact, willing to cheat at times if they can, in order to achieve glory, in order to lift trophies. That's who I want in my team, because they will go that extra mile. They'll do every trick of the trade. And for me, I have no problem. I want us to be a big, nasty team. We've been way too nice before. And that's why we didn't go on to really win anything under Pochettino. Because when it got to finals, we weren't up for it. We didn't want to lay out that first tackle. We weren't aggressive enough to go and win that first header. Be the first one to get in their ears, wind them up. Sometimes in finals, you need to do that. Semi-finals, big games, to take them off their game. be nasty. And I'm looking forward to this season because I have no doubt we will be a nasty team and teams will not want to come up against us. And we need to do that at Tottenham. We have to get rid of that soft tag, because having that soft tag, it gives every team belief, no matter what stage the game is at or what score it is, that if they just get into their head, oh, Tottenham are soft, we'll eventually break them down. Teams will do it. You'll always give them that belief. But what we want to do by being nasty is take away that belief and even beat them before the games start.
I love that. I really do. And aside from teams not wanting to come up against us, they won't know what they are coming up against because of those options that we have now in that front line. Marlon Green says, spitting the truth, Dave, every day of the week. And I absolutely agree with him. But on that point of what we might play, where Richarlison might play, what role he might play in the squad, JTTG in the chat, I think that's Josh, says, what worries me about the Richarlison deal is where does he fit in? Does he start over Son? And that's a really important point for me, that he doesn't start over Son, but nobody starts over anybody in the system that we have, because we're going to be playing hopefully 45, 50 plus games throughout next season. Those domestic games are going to have 5 subs allowed in all those. Every one of those front 4 is going to play a crucial part. And I can say, I would expect if there is going to be some competition, if there is going to be one player starting over the other, that it would be between Richarlison and Kulusevski. But I don't think Richarlison would be more important than Kulusevski. I don't think Kulusevski would be more important than Richarlison either. Every one of those players is going to play such an important part in this team. And that goes the whole way through the team. That goes right from the front all the way through to the back. Even with Fraser Forster coming in, a very good backup goalkeeper. He'll be playing those cup games, and I assume he'll do very well in them. In our midfield, we now have 4 options. We've Basuma, Skip, Bentancur and Højbjerg for what we will expect will be 2 positions. There's talk of maybe a 5th midfielder coming in. At the back, we're building up our list of centre-backs. We have 5 wing-backs at our disposal, looking to bring in Jed Spence as well. There's going to be so much competition within this Tottenham team. And at the end of last season, you see Antonio Conte at times looking back at his bench and then turning around exasperated because he realised the only options he has from his bench is Pierluigi Golini or a 12-year-old. And that's just not going to work. That's not something that any manager can really work with, especially when you're pushing for Champions League football. You need players who are ready to come on and impact a game, who are ready, if you need them, to start the next game and not lose that quality on the pitch. And by bringing in Richarlison, a player who has, 6 or 7 years of Premier League experience beneath him, he's coming into the prime of his career. He's 25 years of age. It is such a massive signing for Tottenham. And that statement of intent for the second time in this window, bringing in the best player from another Premier League side, which aside from Højbjerg, I can't remember the last time we did. These are 2 huge signings with Richarlison and Basuma. And go on.
Yeah, just on the squad as well, Matty. I mean, we shouldn't be sitting here really asking where are they going to fit in. At the end of the day, if they're hungry enough, they'll come in here and they'll make sure they fit in. But second of all, Liverpool bought Diogo Jota. They bought Diaz. They didn't need them. But they've still played plenty of minutes across the campaign. And that's because they know they need a squad. And you look at Antonio Conte, the very first thing he came when he came in here was he said to the squad, there is no an A and B squad like there was under Nuno. Everybody is part of this squad and everybody will play. And everybody will get minutes. Now, obviously, with some injuries and stuff like that, and some of the players just not being good enough, their minutes kind of dwindle. But anyone that comes here and they want to play and they try their hardest, they will get minutes across the season. We have to get used to having a squad here. You look at Liverpool, the reason why they're able to go for a quadruple is because they have a squad of pure talent. And everybody at some stage plays their part. Everybody plays their part. Everybody chips in. And for me, we have to get used to at Tottenham, not looking at our signings and immediately saying, where are they going to fit into the first team? Look, it's very hard to get a player right now to come in here and break into that front three. We've got one of the most lethal front threes across Europe, and that was proven from 2022, the start of 22 up until the end of the season. We've one of the most lethal across Europe. But what if one of them get injured? We're supposed to look around and rely on Lucas Moura, who unfortunately works hard, but you don't know what you're going to get from him in any given day. So you have someone like Richarlison there you can bring on who'll be young, hungry, wants to make an impact, like you were saying, Matt. And we have to get used to at Tottenham needing a squad. We have to remember we finished the season with 14 fit senior outfield players. If that season carried on another 4 or 5 games, we would have been absolutely screwed. At times, Conte was looking around and looking at the 2 Craig twins on the bench. And nothing against them, but what are they supposed to do? How are they supposed to impact the game? How is Conte supposed to bring them into a team? It can't happen. We need to bring in players and fill this squad out. Conte is not here to just scrape top four again next season. Conte is here to challenge for the league title. He believes he can. Unbeaten against Man City and Liverpool last season with the squad we have, let alone the squad we now have. He believes he can beat them to the league title. He wants a domestic trophy. He'll believe he can go and win that Champions League. And in order to do that, you need a squad. And that's what we need to get used to of the idea as fans now. We've asked the club to change their mentality. And this is not a pop at the fans whatsoever. You know me, Matty, I very rarely like to take a dig at fans. But what I will say is now us fans need to start trying to gain that big club mentality as well. Like you look at City, Liverpool, they can spend 40, 50 million on a guy that comes in and he's on the bench. And the fact that we're doing that now at Tottenham, I mean, that's absolutely seismic shifts compared to what we're used to.
It really is. It's everything about this summer and everything about what we're kind of expecting from next season. It's the opposite of Tottenham. You know, it's what you'd expect us to be looking at other clubs doing and thinking, oh God, imagine being them. But even like to add on your point with the lack of impact from the bench, imagine if you're Newcastle or if you're Nottingham Forest or Bournemouth next season and you're holding on against Spurs. You know, you're maybe 1-1, 0-0, 2-2, whatever it is, 10, 15 minutes to go. Last season, we bring on Lucas or Bergwijn, who are good footballers, but aren't the impact that we need. You may kind of think, you know, we could be fine here. We can see out this storm. But next season, you're going to see Richarlison coming on, and you're going to see maybe another forward or maybe another attacking midfielder. And even if it's just to strike that bit of fear in the opposition for 5 or 10 minutes, that's more of an impact than what we have at the moment.
Yeah.
And it's crucial business from Tottenham. It's absolutely crucial business. Bobby K says 737 in the chat, only 188 likes. It should hit 300 in the next minute. I agree with Bobby. It should be 300. Let's get that sorted out, Spurs fans. We also have who I think is an Arsenal fan in the live chat. And the best thing about that is I have my live chat on subscribers only. So the Arsenal fan is subscribed. Thank you for the support. Now look, aside from Richarlison, it looks like the next man that we will be bringing into Spurs is Clement Lenglet. Fabrizio Romano has said in the last hour or so that Tottenham have now reached full agreement with Clement Lenglet on personal terms. He's happy to join Spurs, with Antonio Conte pushing to have him. Tottenham and Barcelona are still in direct contact to resolve final details of the loan deal. Then, here we go, soon. So Fabrizio Romano teasing that here we go. But Tottenham, full agreement with Clement Lenglet, a player that, as we're hearing, Antonio Conte wanted, one that he was pushing for. David, how crucial is it that it is Antonio Conte driving this transfer?
Look, it is absolute crucial. Look, if we're going to sit here and be honest, is it Conte's first choice, Matty? I'm going to sit here and I will say no, because I do believe Bastoni was his number one choice. But I do believe that Antonio Conte tried to sign him at Inter Milan only a couple of years ago as well. So, not so long ago as well. So, you know, it is a player that Antonio Conte has had interest in. We've had interest in. We tried to sign him last season. He just didn't want to come. Now he does. But look, with Lenglet, look, I know he's not our first choice, but at the end of the day, if our first choice is not available, Matty, we have to get somebody in here. We cannot allow the likes of Dyer and Davies to get complacent, throw another manager under the bus. And I know people are going to say, what are you talking about today? But just let me explain briefly. And what I mean by that is Gary Neville, Ashley Young, people like that have all said about how demanding, physically and mentally demanding Conte's regime is. And that, you know, some players can't hack it for too long. Now, we've developed a culture here for the last while where the players have had all the power and they've managed to get the manager sacked. Now, what's to stop them if we don't bring in the backup from one of them or even both of them just saying, look, I can't physically keep going through this, because we know Dyer's had his injury problems over the years, you know, so he might break down. Davies, he had a crucial role in getting Nuno sacked. He went to Daniel Levy about him. So what's to stop one or two of them then just giving up halfway during next season? We have nobody else there to come in, and we have to persist with them, and then results will turn, and ultimately someone like Conte will be out the door again, and we can't keep allowing that to happen. So in order to keep improving and in order to keep Conte here and keep everybody at their best levels, you have to keep evolving this team under Conte. And bringing in someone like Lenglet, for me, I actually think he'll come in and replace Ben Davies rapidly, in my opinion. Look, Ben Davies has had a very good season, Matt, but Lenglet is just so much better on the ball. And I think on that basis, he will end up getting in there ahead of Ben Davies. And I think he's a very good signing for us, Matt, because rather than having to play counter-attacking football, or when we are on the football against low block teams and we're moving it side to side because we don't have that player at the back that has that passing range to be able to go beyond the wing back who's being marked, beyond the midfield who's being marked. Ben Davies is not capable of that. He doesn't have that passing range. Bastoni does. So in terms of technical ability, he probably help us dominate possession a lot more. But against low block teams, people can make runs in behind because this guy has that passing ability. So I think it'd be a very, very good signing for Tottenham. I just say to people, I get it. I know he's not many people's first choice. He's not even our first choice. But at the end of the day, you need to get somebody in here. And they went and done that. And the fact that it's a loan move, to me, it shows we're serious about a Bastoni. We're leaving ourselves in a position that if he becomes open towards the end of this window, that Inter Milan do have to force him out and sell him, we'll be in a position to be able to go and buy him because we haven't put money on Lenglet. But not only that, it just goes to show to me that I think we'll test him again in January and we'll test him again next summer until we get our man, and we're saving the coffers to be able to get our number one target, which I do not mind. I do not mind whatsoever. I think it's a win-win for Tottenham, this deal.
I couldn't have explained it better myself, to be honest. Some fantastic points in there, as always, from David.
Thank you.
Yeah, it does seem to be, like, initially I was kind of looking at it as an acceptance of defeat in our pursuit of a main centre-back. You know, I kind of thought this is one that Tottenham would have ready to go if later in the window we realise, okay, we're not going to get Bastoni. We're not going to be able to pay for Vardial. Pau Torres isn't going to want to leave Villarreal. Then maybe end of July, start of August, we could pull that trigger and get Lenglet over the line. I felt when this went through initially that maybe it's an acceptance of defeat in that, but as you say, there's so many pros to it. It's only a loan deal. We're not exactly committing to anything massive. Some reports saying it's a €6 million loan fee and then an option to buy next season for another €6 million. So we could potentially be getting in Lenglet for 12 million, which, look, everyone, or a lot of people I know, have their concerns about his defensive ability. They have their concern about his attitude, how he's performed at Barcelona in the last couple of years. But £12 million for a French international centre-back from Barcelona in 2022 is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. You know, you people paying more than that just for straight up 1 year loans. So that in itself is a really good deal. But like you say, we then have that opportunity later in the window. Let's say, as you say, Inter Milan, maybe they're planning on selling Milan Skriniar to PSG. At the moment, that's not looking like the most likely transfer. It's possible PSG will try put some players in that deal to reduce how much they have to pay, whereas Inter Milan purely need cash. Maybe Inter Milan are banking on that deal happening. If that falls through, maybe they end up knocking on Tottenham's door, being like, "Can you take Bastoni?" You know, something like that could develop. Josko Vardial, I know at the moment he's happy at Leipzig and he's happy to play Champions League football with them. He thinks he'll get game time there to make it into the World Cup squad in December. What's to say he doesn't have a falling out with the manager? What's to say he doesn't, maybe his family want to leave Germany? There's so many variables, and this gives Tottenham a very good solid basis. If the season starts tomorrow, we have that squad that's ready to go, but also we have that flexibility to be able to go different paths, as you say, David. I can't explain it as well as you did, but with those concerns around Lenglet, I'll admit I do have concerns around how good he is defensively. Jack Kanicki, an absolute legend, in the live chat, if Conte can turn Ben Davies into one of the best centre backs of last season, then he can definitely do the same with Lenglet. Think about what fans thought of Davis before Conte came. And before we go into that, we got a super chat from Eric Cooper with the $10. Says, here in Chicago, loving the facts you guys are spitting, excited for our Spurs. Eric, thank you very much for the super chat. Thank you for the kind words. And look, if you're excited about Spurs, there's two places to be: this channel and the Irish Hotspurs channel. And that link to Irish Hotspurs pinned at the top of the chat. If you haven't subscribed to that already, but Eric, thank you for the support. And on Jack's point, another article I did for Opta, I think it was around March, talking about how Antonio Conte has transformed the defence, and there were so many stats in that, in terms of how good Tottenham are defensively, with like tackle success rate, with goals conceded per game, but also in possession out of possession pressures as well, which is a really, really important one. But in possession, in terms of progressive passes, progressive carries, passes into the final third, all those stats for every one of our defenders doubled in the time between Nuno Espirito Santo leaving in October and when I did this around Antonio Conte's Tottenham in March. Now, the only player didn't double is Christian Romero, because he is a god amongst men anyway. But that effect that Antonio Conte had on these players, who he didn't get to pick, he didn't get to decide who they were, he didn't get to pick what attributes they had. He was given these players, these subpar players, let's not forget how bad they were with the exclusion of Eric Dyer under Nuno Espirito Santo. Let's not forget that Ben Davis, I don't think, played a full 90 minutes before Antonio Conte came in. They were failing players at Tottenham Hotspur. Antonio Conte managed to make them the defence that got us into the Champions League. And Dyer and Davis especially improved under him. But Davinson Sanchez, without even playing much football between January and May, was able to step into that team towards the end of the season, keep 3 clean sheets, and actually play a very big part in doing that. Played a very important ball to Harry Kane for that 3rd goal we scored against Arsenal. There is no denying how much Antonio Conte can improve these defenders, whether they're getting that game time or not. And Clement Lenglet, as I think I said it in your stream as well last night, David, that he has the uncoachables, as in that confidence in possession, that ability to maybe read the game a second or two ahead of everybody when he has the ball at his feet, that confidence when he's under pressure. He has that, which is something you might not be able to coach into players. What he does lack maybe defensively, in that defensive positioning, that defensive awareness, knowing when to go into the tackle, knowing when to stand off, that is something that Antonio Conte and the coaching staff can teach him. So maybe we haven't brought in a position where we'd rather bring in the perfect player like a Bastoni. We've gone for maybe the next best option, which is someone that we've brought in that Conte is confident he can mould into a Bastoni, like he did with Bastoni. So there are concerns. There are, for me, still questions whether Clement Lenglet will be a backup centre-back or that starting left centre-back. Again, with that flexibility we have for the rest of the window, he could be either. He could be both. But there is so many positive signs around this deal. And again, only 12 million euro if we want to make that permanent, altogether, if we want to make that permanent next summer. Just to run through a few more reports on Lenglet. Matteo Moretto has said that Clement Lenglet to Tottenham is almost complete, with just the finer details remaining. All parties are confident of completing a deal. Lenglet has permission to travel to London this weekend, probably tomorrow. A few things need polishing between clubs, as if there will be a purchase option or not. So maybe that at the moment is still up in the air. But I think more reliable sources than Moretto have said that there is a 6 million buy option in that. I think Alistair Gold said that there was. Now this is one that I enjoy. It's coming from Sport, not the most reliable source, but they definitely had this Lenglet story before the English press. They said he's expected to complete his move to Tottenham by Tuesday, but Clement Lenglet has accepted a pay cut in order to move to Tottenham and play regular football. That, for me, says everything about his attitude. It also would suggest that he is going to be that starting left centre-back. But for a player of his age, he's, I think, 26 or 27. For a player of that age, growing up and throughout the majority of his career, everyone in his generation, their dream would have been to play for Real Madrid or to play for Barcelona. Now, he's had that chance at Barcelona. Admittedly, he hasn't taken it very well. He's been subject to very unnecessary abuse from Barcelona fans at times. But he's accepted a pay cut to leave one of the biggest clubs in the world so he can go and actually play football. That just says everything about his attitude, and it says everything about what kind of player we're getting in. And David, I'm sure you're delighted to hear that as well.
No, look, I'm absolutely buzzing, Matt. Look, too many times we've had to overpay players to get them here, like Lo Celso, like an Dembele, and you see what way their attitude goes. Whereas someone like a Lenglet, look, it was made clear to him by Xavi that he will not get first team football this season, so he had no option to leave. But he could have tried to help hold out and wait for him to get the wages that he wants to continue on his lifestyle. But like you said, Matt, the fact that he's willing to take a wage reduction shows me that he probably does want to get his career back on track. You have to remember, there's a World Cup starting in November. Mm-hmm. I have no doubt in his mind, he'll want to come here, hit that ground running, and try and get himself in that French squad for the World Cup. I would not be surprised. So for me, I'm happy to hear that he took a wage reduction. It goes to show that he actually wants to come to Tottenham. Because I know last season we tried to get him and he didn't really want to come. But this time he wants to come. And great point like Jack says about Dyer and Davies. If look what Conte's done with them. All Lenglet needs is just a little bit of love, Jack. He just needs someone to say, look, or Matty, he just needs someone to say, look, I'll give you a little bit of love. I'll put my arms around you. You can call me daddy. You know what I mean? Whatever else. And for me, I think you'll get a very good player in Lenglet. I think he'll do the job at Tottenham. And look, it's all to gain for and nothing really to lose, Matty. And what I mean by that is, if he comes in, he has an absolute stormer, and you do have that buy clause in it. I mean, you're getting an absolute brilliant defender for 12 million euros altogether. But if it doesn't work out, just send him back. Because I'm sure there'll be some sort of clauses in there, like you've seen Paratici structure other deals, where like with Galini and stuff like that, where if he plays so many games, we'll have to trigger it. I'm sure that'll probably end up being like that. But if he's not good enough, he won't play them games. So it's a win-win for Tottenham. I can't see how we lose out on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I completely agree. For everyone watching, I've just put a poll in the live chat. I said, do you think Lenglet will be a good addition to Tottenham's squad? The options are yes, no, and I'm not sure. So if you're watching live, you can vote in the chat. If you're watching on the replay, you can just let me know in the comments down below, and I'll get back to a few of those later. For me, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure, but I think he can become a good addition for us. Just a few more reports to run through from very questionable sources. Diario AS say that Clement Lenglet is already in London to finalise a move to Tottenham, with the deal aiming to be announced by the 4th of July, which is this Monday. Esport 3 also say that as part of the loan deal, Tottenham will pay all of Lenglet's salary. They say as well that Lenglet is already in London. So if that is true, you would, I suppose, believe that he took the pay cut, because earlier on in these negotiations, it was the salary of Clement Lenglet that kind of put Tottenham off the deal initially. But we've gone back in, and it looks as though we've gotten that done. At the moment, we are just waiting for the here we go from Fabrizio Romano, and then we expect an official announcement in the coming days. Now, one deal that perhaps isn't as advanced as that is that of Jed Spence. Again, Fabrizio Romano said yesterday that Jed Spence to Tottenham is really close. Rudy Galletti today said that Jed Spence to Tottenham is just a matter of time, only the final paperwork to be done. The player is pushing to close everything quickly. Now, on the flip side, Tom Barkley, who for me isn't the most reliable source out there, but seems to have been fairly on the ball with this move. He has said that potential new bid. So he said earlier this morning that Middlesbrough were expecting a new bid from Tottenham today. They said that potential new bid from Spurs is now looking unlikely to happen today. The situation remains the same in terms of a difference in opinion over Spence's valuation between Tottenham and Middlesbrough. The move is not dead yet. And Daily Mirror, who are one of the worst sources out there, said that Jed Spence is due at Tottenham to complete a medical. So they're out on their own saying this deal is nearly done. They said the club have agreed a deal with Middlesbrough worth around £15 million with add-ons for the wing-back. I would assume that is absolute garbage, like the paper. But David, where do you stand on this move for Jed Spence? Do you think we're going to see him in a Spurs jersey?
Do you know what, Matty? I'm a bit torn. I think he's one that we're kind of trying to delay a little bit because, look, we could have had this deal done a couple of weeks ago, if we're being honest. You know, we really wanted him to, look, probably 20 million quid, slap it down on the table, you know what I mean? And he's your guy. I think we're stalling this just to see what else comes available. You look at someone like Molina, who there was, I believe, a bid or rumored of a bid put in for him yesterday. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're probably maybe looking at that or another couple of options out there. I think, look, a lot of people are saying it's because Daniel Levy is in charge of the negotiations. Yeah, look, probably has something to do with it. But at the end of the day, he's a player that has stated he wants to come to Tottenham. He has a lot of other options on the table, but his eggs are in Tottenham's basket. He wants to move to Tottenham. He's come out and said that as well. So I think the fact that he said that, he's basically twerking for Tottenham. We can just keep delaying it that little bit longer just to see what else comes in. And we're probably arguing with Middlesbrough over about 5 million, Matty. Like, you know, something absolutely pathetic in terms of football money. But with Jed Spence, Matty, you look at the money we've spent on Jack Clark over the years. You look at who else, Sess Young, players like that. That's the going rate for someone of his age now from the Championship. That's the way it is. That's the way football has gone. It's the going rate. And for me, with Jed Spence, I think you're getting an option at right wing back that we don't currently have in the team. And that's someone that will actually get on the ball, knock the ball by his man and go. And I've watched this guy. He can put the ball by players, and players will come in and try and knock him off it. He's a big, strong guy when he gets moving. He is hard to move off the ball. So he has that, and he has all the raw. He's an athlete. He has everything necessary that someone like as world-class as Conte can mold into exactly what he needs and mold him into being one of the best wing-backs in world football. Look, he's nowhere near that level yet. But if you look at someone like Robertson and what Klopp done with him, now, Robertson was relatively unknown, had a good season at Hull. Klopp picked him up. Klopp molded him, put him in and out of the team for the first while. And all of a sudden, Andy Robertson now one of the best left-backs in the country. Now, there's no reason why Conte can't do that with someone like Spence. You look at Doherty. He breaks down. Emerson, sometimes not the best going forward. We also need to kind of help that English core, even though for me, I don't really look too much into it because the club never fails anyway. So I do think that potentially this would be a deal that would happen. But Matty, I would sanction it. I would rather pay the 15 million or whatever it is for him now, get him in, let someone like Conte develop him and see what he can do. If not, you'll probably make your money back trying to sell him anyway. But for me, I'd rather pay the money now rather than pay 50 million further down the line. England have produced right back after right back after right back after right back for the last few years. It's something they just seem to produce in England. And I think Jed Spence will go on to be a very good player. Now, look, most people will make up their analysis of the championship playoff final that they watched him in. That was a different game altogether. Nottingham Forest have been down in the championship for the last 20 odd years. They've been dying to get back to the Premier League. Once they went 1-0 up, they were always going to sit back, tell their defenders to sit in, not get forward, don't bomb forward. And look, so I wouldn't really be judging them off that. But Matty, this is a guy that he was playing in a team in Croydon, along with Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Emil Smith-Rowe, and there was another one or two there. He was the last one to get picked from that to go into a club. Then every other years when the contract renewals comes around, he's always the last one to get his contract renewed. He ended up getting himself out of Middlesbrough and going to Nottingham Forest on loan. Now, he took that opportunity, Matty. He took that opportunity. He helped Nottingham Forest achieve something promotion, which they've been dying to do and they failed time and time again to do. He got into Championship Team of the Year and he got into the England under-21 team. This is a kid that is on a remarkable rise. And this is a kid that every time, even when he's got rejected, and his own mother has come out and said this about him in interviews, that she's always gone away with him. She's always said to him to go away, keep working hard. And that's what he does. This kid is a grafter. And I have no doubt when he gets to Tottenham, Matty, he will work even harder as well to make it there. I think this is one we have to go for. I get it. Is he good enough to hit the ground running and, provide us that out-and-out quality down the right-hand side? No. But when you have players like Kulusevski, Bentancur Bissouma, Romero, these are all players that can really help this kid develop. These are all players that can help this kid out during the game. And for me, I think he's young, I think he's exciting, and I think I'd get him in because 15 million, if something else becomes available, we should have the money to be able to go after that as well, in my opinion. So I think it's a no-brainer for me. I think get him in.
I feel like I should just applaud after that. To be honest, that is such a perfect summary of the situation. And I don't want to ramble on myself because I know everyone who's watching my channel will know my feelings on Spence, but I honestly couldn't have put it better myself. And as someone mentioned in the chat there, that Spence, Bjorn said it, Spence is low risk, high reward. And look, I kind of would hope that bringing in Spence, we may get another right back who could maybe more experienced, kind of like recreate that Perisic-Sessegnon dynamic with players on the right hand side. Is that realistic? I'm not too sure, but yeah, he's a player who could be something very, very special. And when he left Middlesbrough and he went to Nottingham Forest on loan, I think at the time Nottingham Forest were bottom of the championship. They were looking like they were going to have a season fighting relegation. Look where they've ended up now. But Neil Warnock said he'll be either a non-league or a Premier League player, and he took that personally. He put that work in, and he's turned himself into a Premier League player, whether it's with Tottenham or with Nottingham Forest. He will be playing in the Premier League.
Jonathan Woodgate also has very high praise for Jed Spence as well, Matty, ex-Tottenham player as well, Mm-hmm. So, look, I just think Jed Spence would be a good signing. Look, I'll be disappointed if Tottenham didn't go and get anybody else on top of him, but I wouldn't be absolutely raging because some of the other money, some of the other areas we spent in positions. And look, Matty, we have to also understand that there's also going to be one or two positions where you're going to be left underwhelmed. But because we had so many positions and players we had to bring in, ultimately, there is going to be a position or two where you end up cheaping out. And I think that's what we're maybe going to be doing at the right wing back situation, where we're cheaping out, but we're bringing in someone that could potentially explode onto the scene next season if he works hard. And the reason why I say that is because we've spent in midfield, we've spent up front. We're obviously going to spend, I think, again, in the centre-back position. So for me, there's always going to be one, maybe two positions because the amount of business you have to do where you're going to be left a little bit underwhelmed. But that's sheerly because the amount of numbers we've had to bring in here because of how bad the squad was last year.
Yeah,
and that's just being realistic. I don't like saying that. I want the top players in here. I want us to be able to go and spend 50, 60, 70 million. But we're building up to that position because we have so many and we've got in so many already. And we had so many positions to fill. I'm hoping now next summer, Matty, we can sit there and say we need a centre back. We've got 100 million and we're going to get our number one target, even if it costs 100 million. But in order to do that, we have to build ourselves up to that position by building a squad. So for me, I'm happy to look, I'm not happy with having to cheap out maybe on one area or two, but inevitably, if we're being realistic, it's going to happen because we have to make that money stretch as well.
Yeah, Rome wasn't built in a day, and as much as we would like to have that absolute perfect squad for Antonio Conte this season, there's just too much work that needs to be done on it to actually have that ready. And I think who was it that was said it? I think it might have been either Alistair Gold or Michael Bridge said that the first press conference with Antonio Conte, he walked into the room and he said to the reporters, I'm going to be honest with you here, and there was a bit of fear what he was going to say, but he said this squad needs a lot of work, and it does. And as much as we can bring in players like Bentancur and Kulusevski in January and bring in the Basumas, Richarlisons, Perisic's this window, we're not going to turn that squad into a perfect Conte squad in one window. So if Jed Spence is a stopgap, or if Jed Spence is a risk, we can bring him in now and say, hopefully 12 months down the line, we won't need to upgrade. But if we do, it's only really 15 million that we've lost out in that position. Fantastic. And let's go for it. Kuva in the live chat says, big up Maddie and Dave, Ireland's second and third greatest Spurs fans. Kuva, neither of us are happy with that. But good as always to see you in the live chat. A player I want to move on to, which is one that I know the answer you're going to give already, David. We've had a few people asking in the live chat. Mike McGrath earlier today, who, look, let's be honest, is a tier 1 source. I think he reported back on the 11th of May, if I'm not mistaken, that Richarlison, Anthony Gordon and Ben Godfrey were on Tottenham's wish list for this summer. He was right. He has said that Tottenham are considering a move for free agent Jesse Lingard as a homegrown option in midfield. Look, quickly from me, no, I don't want it. I don't see how it would happen. Leslie in the chat says no to Lingard. He's leaving Manchester United because he wants game time. He's not going to get that at Tottenham. If he was going to get that at Tottenham, I'd be concerned. Why? How? Who misses out? It's a deal that just doesn't make sense for any party. Maybe from a Conte point of view, maybe it's the type of player that he likes to bring in. It could be that kind of wild card like the Victor Moses that he had at Chelsea. But for me, we're going in the opposite direction of a Jesse Lingard. There were different leaks in the Manchester United dressing room over the last 6, 12, 18 months. There were stories coming out about bust-ups in the training ground, about confidential tactical information coming out. And speaking to a United fan who's a really good friend of mine, he was saying when this season ended and when certain players with their contract expiring started leaving, when Lingard left, the leaks stopped. So he seems to be a truly horrific player to have in the dressing room. Spencer Arnold says he should go to West Ham. We don't want him. Jack is saying no. Chris doesn't see it. King Hoddle doesn't like him. Mark doesn't want him either. David, what are your thoughts on Jesse Lingard?
I'll be honest with you. I think it was Mark actually that made the point before I even could get to it in my chat earlier on today. He was that adamant about it. But I think we're being used here so that they can get as much money out of West Ham as they can. I don't think they've been satisfied with the offer on the table, because if they were, it would have been swept up, done deal by now. So they're obviously somewhere apart in terms of wages. Now, look, you would have asked me last summer, Matty, or January, get this guy in. We need bodies. Look, and I'll give it. Jack made a great point earlier on as well. He's not the sort of, if you're looking to bring him in here and feel that sort of creative attacking midfielder that everybody wants, is he the sort of player that can operate in them spaces between the opposition midfield and backline? No. One thing that Jesse Lingard was very good at is actually making his runs in behind. And that was highlighted under Jose Mourinho when he was at United. Jesse Lingard was absolutely brilliant at that, beating the offside trap and getting in behind. He's a player that does need a lot of space to work in. And look, for me, Matty, I think, judging by us maybe wanting to get in a centre attacking midfielder, and I think we might actually be looking to try and do a cheap option here, or get in a free option, someone like a Christian Eriksen or a Lingard to come in and fill that void and hopefully use that money on the back line. Look, with Lingard, if it happens, Matty, I'm not going to throw my toys out the pram. At the end of the day, he's a guy that's going to be sitting on the bench. You can bring him on. You can play him in cup games. And look, to be fair to the guy, this guy went out to West Ham had an unbelievable season, went back to Manchester United, and even though how bad things got, they never gave him an opportunity. Never gave him an opportunity. They didn't even give him any minutes to say goodbye to the fans or anything like that. I think he was actually harshly treated at Man United. He was also, when he got into the West Ham team, played himself back into the England team. Didn't end up ultimately being left out for the Euros. But again, I'm pretty sure he'll have his eye on that World Cup squad. And I think he'll believe that there could be a spot that he can get in there. So for me, I think you will get a player that way. If you do sign him, he'll come in, he'll be hungry, and he will want to play. But I wouldn't necessarily say he's my first choice there. No, nowhere near it. But look, I would rather us go for Christian Eriksen rather than Jesse Lingard, if I'm being honest. But I do think we're probably being used here, Matty. We're being a pawn.
That's a good point, to be honest. I didn't even think of that. West Ham are interested. I think Everton have been given or been spoken about as having interest in the last couple of days. So maybe it is just trying to force somebody else's hand. But yeah, I don't think it's one that's going to happen. Abrazov says, say something about James Maddison. James Maddison is a footballer. Another link that we have is one that, look, people are going to get annoyed at me for bringing this back up. And to be honest, I don't blame them. But we're here to talk about the links that are out there, and that's what we're going to do. Before we do get into that, by the way, there are 950 people watching live right now. We have 368 likes. So my message to you is, if you want Jesse Lingard to go into West Ham's dressing room and spoil that good mood, hit that like button. And if that doesn't get you to like this stream, I don't know what will. While you're down there, subscribe, check out the Irish Hotspur link in the description and the top of the live chat. But let's talk about something Charlie Eccleshare said on Last Word on Spurs on Wednesday. He said, don't rule out Alessandro Bastoni. Now, look, I've been saying this all along, that it's very unlikely. It doesn't look like one that's going to happen, but at the moment, we can't afford to rule it out. Charlie Eccleshare said, I know his agent has come out and said he loves Inter and everything, but that's happened before and then moved. Partly they don't want to seem like they're agitating for a move. Maybe I'm hearing what I want to hear, but I don't think that deal is totally dead. David, I think it's impossible for me to be unbiased on this one, because any player in the world, honestly, any footballer on this planet, you said I could sign any of them, I would pick Alessandro Bastoni. Do you think this one is dead? And you think we're just, maybe this is the same, it's just being kind of dragged out for the clicks? Not at all accusing Charlie Eccleshare of that, but maybe from the tabloid side and from the Italian side as well. Do you think we could be just being used for a few extra clicks?
I'm 50-50 on this one, Matty. Look, the player was put in an awkward position, right? He's a boyhood fan of Inter Milan. Now, he doesn't necessarily want to move. But if the club came and told him, look, we have to take the money, it's for the good of the club, you're gone, he will leave. But basically it was left in a situation, Matty, where in order so that, because you have to remember, he's a fan. He doesn't want the fans to turn on him. He doesn't want the fans to hate him. He's a fan of that club. He wants to be loved. He wants to be adored. He wants to be a legend. Mm-hmm. So he was never going to come out and piss off the Inter fans by saying, yeah, I want to go. It was left in a position where people wanted Bastoni to come out and shut it down, but Inter were also never made their decision. They kind of left it with Bastoni. They wanted him basically to turn around and say, yeah, I want to go, instead of just saying, look, we have to sell you. So for me, look, I know his agent has come out and said things, but agents always come out and say things, to be honest with you. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Bastoni instructed his agent to kind of come out and kind of quell it down a little bit. Look, at the end of the day, I'll be honest with you, Matty, I think we put in the money. I think Inter will be forced to sell him. I think he's a Tottenham player. That's what I believe. But again, with Conte and Bastoni's relationship and the previous relationship they've had at Inter Milan, does Conte want to ruin that, knowing that Bastoni doesn't want to leave Inter, but yet we put in a massive bid? Then all of a sudden you're getting in a player where his relationship is broken with the manager. He doesn't really want to be here either. So are you going to get the best Bastoni? And so for me, I think we're probably, because Conte really knows Bastoni, I think we're waiting for kind of Bastoni to give us the green light, and then we'll go for it, in my opinion, because you don't want to piss off the player, especially if he is your long-term target. You wait for him to become unhappy, then you go and rescue him. You put out your arm, you're like, here I am, come. And so for me, I wouldn't write it off yet, until Inter Milan sells somebody for massive money. This deal always has the potential to happen.
I need someone to sit there and tell me to just give up on it. I need someone to tell me it's impossible, it's not going to happen, because I still have that slight feeling that something could just click and something could happen. But I don't want to go on too long because people will unsubscribe from my channel. They're telling me to shut up on this all the time. From Bastoni to two confirmed signings today within the youth team. Tottenham said at 11 o'clock this morning, we are pleased to confirm the additions of Tyrell Ashcroft and Josh Keeley to our development squad ahead of the start of the new season. Versatile defender Tyrell, who turns 18 later this month, arrives from Reading, where he spent the majority of last season in their under-23s, while also making 4 senior appearances in the Championship. Republic of Ireland youth goalkeeper Josh, 19, joins from St Patrick's Athletic, where he won league titles at under 15, under 17 and under 19 levels, and stepped up to make 2 senior appearances. During his time at the Dublin-based side, he was coached by Patrick Jennings, son of our legendary former goalkeeper and current academy goalkeeping consultant Pat Jennings. Tyrell and Josh will link up with Wayne Burnett's under-21 side as they begin their preparations for the 2022-23 Premier League 2 campaign. So a few more players there added to the hopefully lengthy list of incredible players that will be coming out of Tottenham's youth academy soon. David, anything to add on the two of those?
Look, just with Josh Keeley, I think a couple of things worth noting. We released, I think it was like 5 goalkeepers from that sort of development squad that set up. So we were going to have to look for someone coming in there. I presume the reason why they released them is because they looked at them and didn't think any of them had the ability to ever become number one. So that they went out and looked for players, and that they've identified Josh Keeley. Now, Matty, I've heard, especially in and around St. Pat's, especially in and around the League of Ireland, this guy has been very, very highly rated. He played very well for the St. Pat's underage team. I think they had nearly a good stint at the league, I believe, as well, if not even won it. And look, for me, what can you really say on the guy? How many goalkeepers actually come through and be number one for the club they've signed for? Very, very rarely does it happen. So I'm not sure whether it will happen. But from what I hear about this guy, he definitely has the potential to make it happen. We also have to remember, Matty, here at Ireland, we're producing a hotbed of goalkeepers right now. Caoimhín Kelleher, Gavin Bazunu, Mark Travers. And for Spurs fans who want to know who Mark Travers is, that time we played Bournemouth and had like fucking 20 shots on goal. The guy saved nearly every single one of them. That's exactly who he is.
2 red cards, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you have more out there as well. We're hotbed for goalkeepers right now. Whatever we're doing right. And look, we'll just wait and see what with this guy. In terms of Tyrell Ashcroft, I mean, I know absolutely nothing. All I know is that he played for Noel Hunt, the ex-Ireland international, for Reading's under-23s. So that's all I know. But I believe we let a centre-back go to Newcastle there over the last day or two, a young lad. I think they kind of picked up a centre-back off us, and I think maybe this guy is their replacement. Played four senior appearances for Reading in the Championship last year. That's all I know on him.
Look, at 17, playing in the Championship is a very good achievement in itself. So hopefully we can see these guys in and around the first team setup in the coming years. A few lesser/unknown reliability reports for anyone who is new to the channel. These are the ones that I had in at the end, just to let you know what's happening, but also to let you know they're probably absolute crap. The Daily Mail has said that Sunderland are in talks to sign Jack Clarke from Tottenham on a permanent deal. Football Insider say Tottenham have joined Southampton, Leicester, Crystal Palace and Wolverhampton Wanderers in the race for 15-year-old St Mirren starlet Murray Campbell. Fanatic in Turkey said that Tottenham have stepped up their efforts to sign Besiktas left-back Ridvan Yilmaz after the youngster's proposed move to Eintracht Frankfurt collapsed. Diario de Cadiz say the Cadiz have entered the race to sign Tottenham winger Brian Hill on loan this season. If Tottenham do sanction a loan for the player, it is likely to be in the final 2 weeks of August. And Calcio Mercato in Italy say that Juventus's interest in Giovanni Lo Celso could reopen this summer. My message to you, Juventus, is you can have him. Look, David, it's been a fantastic stream. We've been going for over an hour. We've had nearly 4,000 people joining us. Still 860 left watching live. So before we do wrap up, we've got a super chat actually from Dark Sung Ji. Do you know what? There was a message in here a while ago. I forget who put it in. I think it was Ivan. Said, "Where is Dark Sung Ji? Because it's not a Matt Hayes stream without Dark Sung Ji." And I think it's the exact same in your channel, David. It's not a proper Spurs stream until this absolute legend pops in the live chat. And Dark Sung Ji in a super chat says, "Matt, how does Richarlison look in our shirt, and how does it feel to have a Copa America and Olympic winner in our squad? This season we will be scary to face five more in, please." 5 more could be a little bit optimistic. I think I have an image somewhere of Richarlison in the Tottenham kit. Now, obviously, it is an edit. Everyone watching can see this. David can't. But that's an edit actually done by Hotspur Report, who kindly gave me permission to use this in a thumbnail and in the stream. So if you haven't, I put up a post on my community feed to go follow Hotspur Report on Twitter. But Richarlison, the jersey suits him perfectly. You know, he's come to England, he's tried to find where he fits in, and he's finally found that club. And David, the point that he's won the Copa America and the Olympics, someone put up on Twitter, it might have been you, I can't remember who it was, but in the Copa America final, when Brazil beat Peru, Gabriel Jesus actually got sent off in that game, and he went down the tunnel crying like a baby, and then Richarlison came off the bench and scored the winner. So, I don't know, I don't want to sit here and be biased and say that Richarlison is better than Jesus, but that is definitive proof that Richarlison is better than Jesus. We got a super chat as well from Espen, who says, just get Eriksen back. With 5 subs next year, having him off the bench against low block teams to pick out Kane or Richarlison seems like a must. And Espen, the longer this drags on, the more I agree with you. I think we do need to get him back in, but at the moment it is looking especially unlikely. But Espen, DarkSMG, thank you very much for the super chats. David, tell everyone about your channel.
Yeah, look, you can find me over the Irish Hotspur. Again, just like Matty here, we produce Tottenham content. Look, I understand I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Sometimes I could be a bit too passionate. But guys, we are 9 subscribers off getting a nice round number on the channel, which would be 7,200. I don't like leaving things on odd numbers, so it'd be nice if we can get 9 people over there to smash that subscribe button. But look, Matty Hayes' Tottenham Blog followers, thank you so much for treating me very nicely in the chat. And Matty Hayes, thank you very much for having me. I absolutely love coming on here and talking Tottenham with you, my man. So hopefully I added something to the show. But yeah, Irish Hotspur is where I'm at. If you like what I've added, get over there and smash the subscribe button. Thank you, Matty.
I think everyone in the live chat right now needs to go over and hit that subscribe button, David. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and always get a lot of fresh perspectives and fresh opinions from you. So anyone, if you haven't already, you need to head over and subscribe, or you'll get some more fantastic Spurs content. Bobby K says, well done to you both. Fantastic update for everyone. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that, Bobby. Bobby's well put in David's channel in the chat, so make sure to do go over and check that out. From myself, 820 of you still watching, you know what you're getting at this point if you're used to the channel. If you're not, we do these transfer streams most days at the moment. I'm going to have a couple of weeks off work again soon, so we'll be going non-stop with the transfer streams, having fantastic guests on like David. We had Kuva and the caller from the Cheese Room podcast recently, and we're going to have so many more throughout the coming days and weeks. So please do hit that subscribe button down below if you want to see that content and be kept right up to date with the latest in the Tottenham transfer window. Alvin Blocks, good to see you in the live chat. I'm afraid we have just wrapped up, so do make sure to go back and rewatch the stream if you want the latest transfer news. But as always, Alvin, good to see you in the chat. To the 4,000 people that have joined us, to the 454 of you that have liked this video, and to the 20 new subscribers that we've got during the stream, thank you very much for the support. But from me and from David, for now, and as always, thank you so much for watching.